Dan's had a shame.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 37 of the 72 review. We're finally here on the season roundup. It's been tough getting the schedules working out in the close season. We've all got partners who demand our attention when the football's not on, unfortunately, amongst other things. But I am joined by a couple of regulars. We've got Ian Bradley to my right and Jake below us, but he's joined with Worko as well. So we'll go around the screen and introduce yourselves. If there's somebody here who's not been here all season, where have you been? We will be doing it again next season, but 100%. These will be regular faces. So we'll start with Ian. Let the viewers know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, mate.
I do it because I love football. 61-year-old Millers season ticket holder. And when the Millers are away from home, I do a match day vlog from normally Leagues 1 and 2. Sometimes the Championship, but I'm just ground hopping and just taking YouTube viewers along with me. Love just doing something I love, really.
And that is for Over the Bar.
Over the Bar, I nearly forgot. Yeah, Over the Bar YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'll practice here.
Yeah, this is it. We've had 3 weeks off. We're a bit rusty.
Yeah, that's true.
But links will be in the description down below. Go ahead and check Ian's content out and give them a subscribe. Moving on to Punk Chef 41. Let people know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, mate. It's been a positive season, as you can see from the backdrop.
I'm Punk Chef 41. I do Sheffield Wednesday content, and it's been a bit of a rollercoaster ride to get to where we finally got to. We'll speak about it in a bit. But I also do a podcast with this gentleman here, and that's Dirty Box, the Talking Wednesday podcast. It's out every Tuesday at 5 p.m. normally. And we just talk all things Sheffield Wednesday, really. And it's nice to be a bit positive about them.
It is indeed. And you're donning the new home shirt, I can see.
I am indeed.
What I thought was a bit of
Actually, it's very smart.
Yeah, I thought it was a Mickey taking sponsorship to begin with because it was announced straight after the Barca game. And
I thought it was as well, but they're actually like a startup, like Silicon Valley startup kind of thing in Sheffield, where they get money from the government.
It re-emphasises your Yorkshireness. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think.
To be fair, a lot of people didn't like it originally because they say it looked too much like Brighton. You didn't like it originally, did you?
I don't think that the pictures do it justice. When you actually see it in person, it's a lot better quality. But yeah, I think as well, probably the yellow or the golden trims are sort of like we normally would have won the league on 96 points. So we're going to sort of like put that in as an homage. I don't know.
We're having it anyway.
Also, it's a bit of a throwback to the 93-94 shirt.
Yeah.
You can see a Hurst or Waddle in this.
You could put at the bottom of the club crest should have won League 1.
96 points.
well, if that's going to be the case, we should have Barnsley not a red.
Yeah.
Go on, Jack.
Yeah, I'm Worko. I have been streaming on Twitch, but with everything going on there at the minute, that's all a bit controversial. I will be making the switch over to YouTube soon. And YouTube's got another one. And with how as well,
more the merrier.
Like, yeah. Just kind of probably not football related things, just kind of content a bit like Pyrocynical or Jackmate or somebody like that is what I'm planning on sort of doing. But yeah, I've fallen out of love with Twitch in general. Not to like drag on them too much because I'm affiliated on there, so I don't want to get in trouble. But
no, don't get involved
soon. Yeah. But it's lovely to be on here again, and I'm also the host of this man, as Jake said, on the Talking Wednesday podcast. So there we go.
Lovely stuff. So links will be in the description down below as soon as Worko's got his channel. Is it up and running yet?
It's up and running. I will send you the link in the private chat.
Send me the link. That will be in the description down below. Let's get subscribed to him and show him some support on the start of his journey. As always, if you're new to this, get your comments in and it will drive conversation, but it's going to run a little bit differently today. Normally we go through the 3 divisions, we talk about the results for the weekend, but obviously it's close season, so we're just rounding up the season as a whole. So We will get this banner on. We're going to talk about best match we've seen, best performance for his own clubs, our opinion of the player of the season for us, as best and worst signing, goal of the season, best opposition team, best opposition player, best away fans, worst away fans, and then the conclusion and satisfaction/dissatisfaction for our seasons. I'm Doncaster Rovers, Ian's Rotherham, and then we've obviously got Jake and Worko, who is Sheffield Wednesday. So that's who we're going to be talking about in this one. Get your comments in, try and kind of say what you think about your own teams in that one. Obviously, we've got MTFC in here saying hello, good evening. We've got Nat, who's a Wednesday fan.
Hey,
Nat. MTFC, no one likes Twitch. That's why we're here. And then we've obviously got ATID, one of the regulars, saying what a lovely surprise. So we want your comments in, guys, for Mansfield's season, Plymouth season, and obviously Nat, give us your opinion on Wednesday's season. See if it.
I still have a soundboard. So
Nah, no.
So I think the best place to start would be Championship. I think we'll leave League One till last because that was absolutely mental. So I think Ian's had a good season as a Rotherham fan. We've not had a very good season as Donny fans, but we're hoping for better next season. So I think we'll start on kind of a mid. We'll go to the low and we'll finish on a high. Hopefully we'll get it done in an hour or so. We will see. So Ian, the floor is yours. Talk us through best match scene and the rest of it, and we will jump in where we feel
starting with best match scene. It didn't even involve my club, Rotherham. The best match I saw all season was the National League playoff final at Wembley, Notts County against Chesterfield. It was one of those games, it was end to end from start to finish. It could have ended up easily about 5-5. It was just, both teams gave their all and performed at probably 100% of what they were capable of performing, if you know what I mean. I felt so sorry for Chesterfield because they were marginally over the 120 minutes the better side, but County just found a way on penalties. But it was a fantastic occasion, great game, and both sets of fans should have been really happy with the team's performance. And congratulations to Notts County coming back into the Football League, of course.
You know what annoyed me with that final, Ian? It set the standard to what we thought the playoffs were going to be, and they just didn't.
Yeah. I mean, that actually, as far as a game of football concerned, that knocked the League Two, League One and Championship playoff into a cocked out. It was the best game of the four.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, right, getting on. My favourite Miller's performance of the season was back in January. We'd just come off I think it was a 7-match without a win, and we took playoff chasing Blackburn Rovers apart 4-0 at New York. We were absolutely superb from start to finish. Barrett and Diaz didn't play in that one, which was probably good for us, but we just took them apart. I mean, we were marginally the better team in an even enough first half, but second half, we just came out and blew them away. It was a fantastic performance, and we were all looking at one another and said, where did this come from? It was absolutely brilliant. I don't know. I mean, we've had some good performances over the season. I mean, both games against Sheffield United, I thought we performed admirably. In fact, we were the only Championship side, I think, that the Blades didn't score against in both games.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you were the only one that didn't.
Yeah, 0-0 at our place, and we won 1-0 at the Lane. So
you managed to get a really good defensive system going, which is something I don't think Rotherham in the Championship are used to.
That's right. I mean, I think out of the bottom 6 or 7 clubs, and this is just off the top of my head, I think we conceded the least, and we definitely had the best goal difference. One of the best goal differences in the bottom half. So that was,
It shows you the change in, and you've also got to remember, your season was very close to being really good at the start because you were in playoff situation, and then you lost one, and then you were wondering what's going to happen next.
Well, I think it took Matt Taylor a bit of time to find his feet, really. Because remember, I mean, he brought Exeter up from League Two, so he only had sort of a little bit of a season in League One. So to make the step up to the Championship was a massive jump up for him. But I think he got there in the end. And I think the players started buying into his style of play towards the end of the season. We did struggle really badly for a time. Although I can never, I think his heaviest defeat all season were 3-0. So we never got absolutely battered by anyone. And we were competitive in most games. Right, what's the next category?
I think that's it, Ian, though. In the position that you guys were in, it's about being competitive and not getting blown away in games, so that there's always that chance of nicking something,
which we did on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, definitely. Before you move on to the next one, buddy, Neil is in the chat. Good evening, Neil. Bradford City fan. Yep. Put my teeth in. If you missed the start of the video, Neil, obviously the questions that we're going through going across the bottom of the screen. Feel free to answer any of those in the comments, and we'll just keep on popping stuff in. We've got Dale Leonard McPherson. He's loving the fact that we've got Grant McCann. But
that song sounds really familiar to me.
Yeah.
We've got Callum as well. Hi, Callum. You've got in touch a couple of weeks asking where the 72 review roundup is. Here it is. We're finally here.
Player of the season.
Player of the season.
Yeah, player of the season.
Undoubtedly, it was just a choice between Ollie Rathbone, our midfielder, that had a fantastic season, but I've got to go for our keeper, Victor Johansson. He's been absolutely amazing this season. Some of the saved and some of the games he's kept us in has been. I mean, he got a call up to the Swedish national squad on the back of his performances for us. He's been. I mean, stats-wise, he's the best keeper in the Championship by a long way. But obviously, you know, he didn't get in any team of the season because he plays for Rotherham, basically.
Yeah.
But he's been absolutely fantastic. And to keep a keeper of Josh Vickers' quality, who's probably the best number 2 in the Championship, it won't be any more because I think he's on his way to Derby.
Oh, do well. That's interesting that Derby are changing tact. Because I thought Derby had a good one with Wildman.
Yeah, I know, but I think he's on their radar along with Wes Harding.
All right.
Oh.
Right back. Because he was out of contract. He turned a new contract down. And I think one's after him. In fact, the strong rule was on the Derby fans that it's all done by the holding of the scarf at the stadium.
Yeah.
Which is great because he did us a really good job, Wes Harding. I mean, he got found out a little bit when when Taylor were trying to play in right centre half when he's really a fullback. So therefore, he got 1 or 2 mistakes there. But he's had 2 seasons with us and he's been brilliant. So and he deserves to go to a decent club, and I think Derby are a decent club.
Yeah.
But yeah, player of the season definitely Victor Johansson, without a doubt.
Best and worst signing.
Best signing, Cameron Humphreys. Cameron Humphreys, centre back. He was on Manchester City's books, but he was on loan abroad somewhere. I can't remember where, but he came pretty unknown quantity. Performed brilliant, no matter which pairing, whether it were Richard Wood that were pairing him, whether it were Bradley Wright, whether it was any of the other centre backs. He was he was a regular. So it was whoever were going to play with Cameron Humphreys at centre back. He's had a really consistent season. And we got him on a 2-year deal. He didn't cost us anything. And he played, I think, 30 games in the Championship. So, yeah, really good signing. The worst signing, a loan player that we got from Huddersfield Town at the start of the season. And I think Matt Taylor drove him back in January because he was absolute. And that was Scott High. I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy.
No.
He's supposed to be a right winger come midfielder. He can't head a ball. He can't run. He can't kick. He was absolutely... And he went back to Huddersfield and went straight back in their first team.
So what you're saying is the best role would be a checkout assistant at Tesco's?
Well, either that or Kit Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was absolute and just not effective. Some loan signings work, others don't. This one didn't. So it is what it is, really. So that's our worst signing.
Nat says that it sounded a little bit like him.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Brad.
Goal of the season. I'm going back to the Blackburn game.
So
I'm going back to the Blackburn game, and it was Ollie Rathbone's shot from the edge of the back box that bounced from the crossbar over the line. It was superb, absolutely superb goal, and that was in the middle of our second half performance that blew them away. Brilliant goal.
Here's a question based on that goal, Ian. You've just kind of you've just brought a question into my mind. I'll start with Ian, but this is a question to everybody, including the chat as well. Would you rather see a striker or a midfielder hit it from 25, 30 yards and find the postage stamp in the top corner, or slightly higher, hit the crossbar and go in?
The latter. The latter. It's more exciting.
It's just something special about a crossbar and in goal, isn't
Yeah,
there?
there is.
Yeah,
Just
because Sky covered that game, and it showed you the actual, the goal decision system.
Yeah.
And it showed you it bounced sort of 4 inches over the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question to Jake. Crossbar in or postage stamp?
Crossbar in, because you never know that unknown if it's going to happen. You have to have that weight at times. And also, I'm English. I still remember that Lampard one that should have counted.
Oh, against Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it was about 3 feet over the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you on the same page as us, Worko, then? Crossbar in or postage?
Oh.
No. Postage stamp.
There's something about the crisp noise of the ball rasping against the sort of the corner netting as it goes in.
Yeah, that noise it makes. Yeah.
It's like a whoosh, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh. It gives me the same feeling as when you've smelled like fresh rainfall on really parched cement, or just it's that same sensation, but the audio version. It's and just the curling in the air. Oh, lovely! I love it. Anyway,
you're not alone, Worko. Nat, stamp for me. There we go. So
there you go.
That has split decisions. To be fair, as a Rovers fan, I'd just take a goal off of somebody.
You won't be saying that this time next year, Dan. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah,
fingers crossed. We will see.
Right, best opposition team. This is best opposition team. This one's an easy one. Luton
I think
Town.
I already know it.
Yeah,
Luton Town. It was a 2-0 massacre that played us off the park. We hardly had a kick. Well organised, well drilled, know what they're doing in every position. Deservedly went up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Deservedly
Congratulations
went up.
to Luton for making the Premier League.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to the complaints
Best opposition player. That's quite a hard one, really, because there's been some really good performances from, but probably, and again, Luton, probably Tom Lockyer. He just looks like a Rolls Royce of a centre. Well, he's a centre back come defensive midfielder in my book.
Yeah.
Let's hope everything.
He's a Welsh international.
All right. Well,
I just hope he's okay after the injury. Well, the accident that he suffered in the playoff final.
Was it to do with?
I just hope he's okay to play.
Did he head the ball and then?
No, he just went down.
No one went down. There was nobody anywhere near him.
It was a faint because of the heat, I believe, from what I've read and things. But
sorry, what was that, Worko? Sorry,
it's I think he's fainted because of the heat, and he didn't have. Everyone else was going for those like protein yogurt sticks and the drinks, and he didn't bother. I think at one of those breaks, and then I think he's gone down because of the.
That's good news because it's not.
Serious.
It's not anything heart related or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say probably Lockyer for that.
Good stuff.
Difficult one because there has been quite a few. I mean, Benson from Burnley.
Oh yeah.
That's my best opposition goal. What a goal that was. And it was in the 83rd minute. And he just cut onto his left peg and curled it. And you talk about postage stamps. He just nestled in that bottom corner.
Yeah.
It was an absolutely wonderful goal. There was one or two candidates. Harry Darling scored a screamer for Swansea on the opening day at our place, which would have shot from outside the box. And also that Fleming of Millwall, he got another screamer against us. But he's had a good season, that Fleming.
Yeah.
Best away fans, easy. WBA, West Bromwich Albion. Absolutely superb. They packed the away end out. They lost 3-1. We beat them 3-1. They didn't stop singing all the way through. I met a few of the fans before and after the game. Very complimentary of our stadium, very complimentary of our team. Not a bit of trouble. Fantastic. Really enjoyed the company.
Complimentary of the New York Stadium.
We'll
be idiots.
Because Cardiff City, because of the reaction to the abandonment, because they really, they were really nasty. They were, I don't know if you know our place, but where the main entrance is, below it is where they park all the coaches. Yeah. And they were getting off the coach and trying to get over the barriers to our fans and some of our disabled fans as well.
Yeah.
And they were shouting all sorts of horrible abuse. They were just horrible.
Yeah.
Really, really, really horrible.
Something that needs stamping out of football, because
Cardiff fans in the chat that would like to, comment about it. Yeah. They were really funny when they came back for the rematch, because they were all wearing water wings and whatnot, which kind of humour I appreciate.
MTFC come up with a reason for it.
Yeah. This is one of the things that when I laugh within the Championship covering Wednesday, Cardiff fans were the ones that were absolutely awful in the comment section. If a game didn't go well, they were horrible. And that me having I had it with Millwall fans, and Millwall fans were really pleasant compared to Cardiff fans. I was surprised.
Yeah, with Millwall, you've probably got that expectation that it's going to be worse than what it is.
Bad elements. It's just
sorry,
some clubs, the bad elements come to the fore, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. It just leaves me with my conclusion.
Yeah, just conclude on Rotherham's season, mate, as a whole.
Definitely satisfied, because our actual aim was staying in the Championship, and we achieved it with a game to spare. So, objective achieved. Obviously, there's things that could have gone better. There's obviously things that could have gone worse, but I think Matt Taylor has done a sterling job. He's done a really good job keeping us up, because at one time it was looking, round about March time, it was looking a bit, because we were dropping like a stone. But he managed to steady the ship. We got one or two injured players back, vitally injured players back. And we deservedly stayed in the Championship. Obviously now, with the early predictions on YouTube, we're coming bottom in everybody's predictions, but that's the way we like it. That's okay. And if we do go down next season, we go down. But if we give one or two of the big boys a nosebleed, so be it. We know where we are as a club. We know where we are as a budget, a fan base, and we just work within that. We haven't got an idiot chairman that's going to spend billions of money that we haven't got. That's just not going to happen at Rotherham. It happened in the past, and we had no end of points deductions, if you can remember, around about 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
I think there was us and Bournemouth got -17 and Luton got -30 one particular season.
And then look at where Luton are now. Playing in the
Bournemouth.
And Bournemouth, Luton, you look, they've actually learnt the lessons and they are now living within their means.
Yeah, I think they're a superbly run club.
Very successful. You could take clubs like Luton and Bournemouth as a template.
Yeah.
On how to run a successful football club.
Yeah, MTFC coming in saying that you're a steady club, and I think that's right. Like you're saying, you know what your budget is, you know where the lines are, and you work within them. And it's difficult being in the Championship. It's a very competitive division with tons of money in it, and it's just about trying to compete at that level, isn't it?
Points deductions if you.
There was an article that came out this week that said a lot of Championship clubs are living within their means and over it and trying to gamble it and go for the kind of thing. If you actually look at Luton only spent around 2 million this season. And it shows that you can do it with nothing. Sheffield United did it a couple of seasons ago with not much. You don't have to spend big. All you need to be consistent. Find a couple of those hidden gems. 9 times out of 10, they normally come from Ireland. You get a lot of hidden gems out in Ireland. That's something coming to Championship.
Absolutely.
We've
got one in our squad now, Georgie Kelly.
Yeah.
He came over from the League of Ireland and he's done well for us. I mean, going back a few years, Richie Towell. That was another one, another player that came from the League of Ireland.
Kieran Sadler.
It's a good place for talent.
Yeah.
I think next season is going to be interesting Championship wise because you've got a situation where like what's going on at West Brom, which doesn't sound good at all. It sounds a bit of a mess. And
also, there's something similar with the Venkies seem to have pulled the plug finance-wise at Blackburn.
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of clubs that may be having to sell to balance books and then seeing what happens. I think this season for some of those clubs were a do or die. They had to go up. And they haven't. Also, first season where the teams that came down did poorly.
Hey, you're right, yeah. I'd not realised that.
None of the teams that came down from the Prem this season in Championship did well.
No, they didn't. So it's going to be tough.
Burnley did, but
then that's the Vincent Company.
That's the Vincent Company thing, yeah. But if you actually look at it, you take Vincent Company out of that and how they've done, you would expect Norwich to have done better. They didn't.
Certainly Norwich had a really poor season for their standards.
Well, Watford went into Watford mode and went sacking everyone. I'm surprised they still got a steward left.
Lost the game.
There were a Twitter comment, Jake, about Watford are on their first manager of the season.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, Ian, very happy with your season.
Satisfied. I'll give it a B+ because we could have done better, but then again, we could have done a lot worse.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. So moving on to League Two and Doncaster Rovers. Obviously, best match I've seen. Didn't see many good ones at the Eco Power this season. So I've got to go with Sheffield Wednesday against Peterborough in the playoffs. But I'm not going to say anything about that too much. I'm going to leave that to Jake and Worko because I'm guessing that may have been one of your games as the best game to watch. So I will give you the pleasure of talking us through that one as Wednesday fans. So best match, we all know what happened in it, but yeah, absolutely fantastic.
What happened in it? I lost my voice.
It was a great stream, to be fair.
Those videos of you going insane.
Your watch along for the second leg were absolutely epic. It was absolutely seeing you lose it like that.
And to be fair, the vlog as well that Worko and Dexterity did was very enjoyable, and around the grounds as well. I think even as a Rovers fan and not affiliated with a Wednesday, you could just feel the emotion in all your guys' content. So credit to you, it was fantastic. And I just go and watch it. Anybody watching this, search for it, go and watch it, and you'll get the feeling. It's very difficult to explain how well these guys all captured it in the content that they did. So Stevie Watson, he's kind of agreed with me. It was the match of the entire EFL season. I think. I think anybody talks about this season and a game that jumps to mind, that would be one.
Yeah.
Best performance from a Rovers perspective, I've got to go with the Grimsby away game. Danny Schofield was in charge, and it looked like maybe a corner was turning and it was starting to click, and it was just everything worked on the day. We looked a really good team. We looked collectively ready for pushing on for the rest of the season, and unfortunately something happened and it went the total opposite way. But for me this season, that was a standout one where Blundell Park's a tough place to go. It's an old style ground. It's a bit of a fortress for Grimsby. You've obviously got the elements coming in from Cleethorpes as well. It's not a nice place to go. The fans are immense at Grimsby as well. And for me, we just went there and dominated a game, which we didn't do that much last season, unfortunately. But that kind of gave us that false hope last season, thinking that we were going to push on for the remainder of the season. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. So for me, best performance was away at Grimsby. Player of the season for me has to be Kyle Hurst, purely because it was a bit of an unknown when we brought him in. We kind of hoped that we'd see positive things from him. And I think when he was on the ball, you can just see that there's something potential. Yeah, it's good. It's going to happen. I think you've said it in on the couple of games that you come and watch Rovers last season that he was a standout performer for you.
Well, I can remember that really early season game with Salford.
I think he scored 2, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. And he looked absolutely superb that day. And I think with the right coaches mentoring him, I think he'll turn out to be a decent player. Yeah, he's got every ability, all the ability. Yeah,
for me, it's just a little bit lightweight at the minute. Gets knocked off the ball a bit too easy. But I think sometimes with wingers, you get that as long as he can improve his game in terms of getting the ball at feet, knocking it on, and getting around a player. I don't expect a winger to outmuscle a centre back. It's very rarely going to happen. But like you said, Ian, with the right mentoring, I think Grant McCann. You look at Wilkes when he played at Rovers. When he's gone to Barnsley on Wednesday, he's not really done what he did back in the day at Donny. I think he's an ideal mentor for to get even more out of.
You get the best out of players, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he knows how to like put an arm around the shoulder, give him a kick up the backside, but also go, look, if you need time to figure out your position, come to me and I'll tell you what it is. It's like, and also it's also that thing as well. Wingers is a dying breed these days. We don't play with wingers anymore. We play with wing backs. And I personally, I love wing back. I love wingers. I love seeing a winger go down the line. And it's the fact that some clubs are still playing with wingers is quite nice.
Yeah. Definitely. Before I move on to the next one,
our prize asset that looks like he's on his way, Ogbenny. We played him.
Looks like he's on his way.
As like a support striker.
I hate to say it.
And he's much better on either wing because he's like lightning. He can take a player on. He can cross a ball. And when he's on his day, he's unplayable. And he's not going to Wednesday. In my opinion, he isn't.
I personally think he might go to Norwich, but it wouldn't surprise me if Wednesday shithouse it again.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's very possible. And let's face it, the player's out of contract and can go where he likes. But I've heard that Luton are interested. Now, how true that is, I don't know.
Pull at Premier League would be too much, surely. You'd have to go there.
I think he's capable of there in a year or two.
Yeah. I think it's in football. You've got to take those opportunities when they're there.
Championship seasons first. But, I mean, look how he's played for the Republic of Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's played at a very high level there, and he's played really well.
Has he actually turned the contract down with you guys, though?
Yeah.
He actually have turned it down?
Yeah. We obviously wanted to offer him. We offered him the best deal we could, but
again,
like I said,
you're going to in your means.
We're not going to go above a certain level. So,
there
you go. He's on his way. He's on his way. But like I said, wherever he ends up, he'll be an asset to whoever club that takes him on.
Yeah.
But and let's face it. I mean, if Luton come in with an offer, he'd be a fool to turn it down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Before I move on to best and worst signing, 80 IDs in the chat. As I say, get your answers to this. What's going across the bottom of the screen in the chat, and we'll go through those as well. For Argyle, won the league ahead of League One's best ever team and the attendance trophy merchants. Still getting the digs in. Signing of the season for him is Mumba. The flop of the season for him is Lombike. Player of the season is Mumba. Best away day was Derby. Best home, I'm guessing that's Exeter.
Yeah.
And his season rating is a star. I think, you've got.
Well,
you've got to give it an
Derby's a
A-star. It was
fantastic away day.
season.
I'm not
Yeah,
surprised
Derby
he
is a
picked
good
that.
away day.
Yeah. So on to my best and worst signing. I've already mentioned my best signing. It has to be Kyle Hurst in terms of the expectation that was on him. There was very little. It was an unknown entity, and I think because of that, we weren't expecting too much from him, and he seemed to deliver quite a lot and fairly consistently over the season in a poor season as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he progresses under Grant McCann. Hopefully he does progress and develop, and I think we've got a really good asset on his hands in Kyle Hurst because he's still only pretty young. For my worst signing, I have got an absolute abundance of choices with this one, but I think I've got to go. I mean, there's the obvious ones like Josh Andrews. It was just a bit of a fridge, just a lump up front.
Fridge.
Lee Tomlin, obviously came with a lot of.
I forgot about Lee
experience.
Tomlin. He came in and then he was like, "I'm retiring now. Bye, lads."
Yeah, and it was just disappointing. I think there was
especially
a few other loanees.
considering the ability everybody knew he had.
Yeah, and he showed that in points, but I think the absolute relentlessness of League Two and the physicality of League Two was probably just too much on his body, because I think he dropped down to kind of non-league, and I've not really heard of him since. He just plays golf on Instagram by the looks of it.
Could we say your worst signing of the season was your board just sacking and changing managers?
Possibly, yeah. Worst bit of the season is the board.
Yeah.
But no, for me, the worst signing, and I'm probably going to get absolutely slated for saying this, is Luke Molyneux, and that is for the exact opposite reasons to Kyle Hurst. Luke Molyneux had scored 12 goals in a poor Hartlepool team the season before, so I thought, here we go, we've got a really good signing here. And for me, he just didn't deliver throughout the season, and that could be due to tactics, how he was getting played. I think he may be one of those players that plays a lot on confidence, and we didn't have a very confident team last year. So again, I'm hoping to see development and progression in Luke Molyneux. But for me, because I expected so much more and he just under-delivered, Luke Molyneux for me is unfortunately the worst signing for Donny Rovers. But I think I'm being harsh there. I think he's got bags of potential.
You could have a dartboard and
a lot of players have slow starts at clubs, don't they?
Yeah.
And you never know, he might under McCann, he might flourish.
I'm hoping so. That's why I say I think I may be being a little bit harsh on him, but I'm hoping to see more next season, because I saw glimpses of what could be with Luke Molyneux, but just not enough for the season for me. Let's have a quick look through the chat before I move on to the next one. Stevie, what's everyone writing Argyle and Rotherham off because we are not a big name? We will pull off a few shocks, and to be honest, I think we'll both be okay. There we go. So Steve is an Argyle fan, I'm assuming.
I think the team that's going to be in for a shock is QPR.
Yeah. I think they will be in bother. ATID, I think he's talking about Derby away here, 2-0 down, 1-3-2, last kick of the game. It's a match where he broke his foot.
Was that limb by any chance, ATID?
Yeah, absolute limbs. MTFC has come in answering a few of these. Signing of the season, Kilgore. Flop of the season, Christie. Pym. Player of the season, Elliot Hewitt. Best away day, Donny. And best home game was Stevenage. Thank you for answering some of those questions.
Actually, I'm surprised because when he was with Exeter, that Christie Pym looked a good keeper.
Yeah.
But having said that, he was a little bit on the short side for a keeper. I think he was only about 5'8", 5'9", something like that.
So, goal of the season. I've already mentioned where this goal comes from in the best performance, and that was Grimsby away. It won Doncaster Rovers a goal of the season. I think he might have won the EFL goal of the season. It was Biggins, an absolute rocket of a strike.
That was a rocket of the goal.
Yeah, I think it might have won League Two goal of the season. I might be wrong. Correct me in the chat if I am, because I don't like being wrong.
He scored a few of those though, didn't he, Biggins?
Yeah, he seemed really rejuvenated between Gary McSheffrey and Danny Schofield. At the start of the season, I was kind of questioning what we'd got as a centre midfielder. And then Danny Schofield came in and just revitalised Harrison Biggins, and it was like he was a new signing under Danny Schofield, and I think he performed really well. In parts, he got injured, which kind of halted any sort of momentum that we got, but the goal was wonderful. It kind of just bounced out, just 20 to 30 yards out. He just hit it sweet as a nut. Back to the question earlier, I think it ended up on the postage stamp. It didn't hit the bar and go in. So for me, it should have aimed a little bit higher, and it'd have made it even better. On to best opposition team. MTFC will enjoy this because for me, it's Mansfield, especially the game at home. I didn't go to the away fixture, but the home game, we were just outplayed massively. And I think that's probably why it's MTFC's best away day, because they looked incredible. Leyton Orient, Stevenage, Northampton, Carlisle, all teams that have come to us and now been promoted. I'd say Mansfield were yards ahead of them in the game. They were quicker, they were stronger, they were so good. So for me, that's the best opposition team. Just as a collective, they absolutely battered us on that day. And I think if we get to any sort of levels like that next season, we'll have a good season. So Mansfield is my best opposition team for the 2022-23 season. Best opposition player, I think you went to this one with me, Ian. Leyton Orient at home. Paul Smythe.
Oh, what a goal that were! You've got to give
he was unplayable.
The best opposition goal to that guy as well.
Yeah, it was the overhead kick, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, and he was just unplayable that day. And I think Mansfield as a collective were superb, but I think he was just one of the standout players that when Ian sent these questions through for us to do this video, he jumped to mind straight away.
The one that reminded you.
Yeah. Just I didn't even really have to think. It was just like overhead kick. He just absolutely ripped us to pieces. Every time he got on the ball, the defense looked shit scared, and it was an absolute menace all game.
And Dan, you got a point out of that, yeah?
Yeah. You did. Yeah, but for me, opposition player of the season, Paul Smythe, and that is the goal of the season for the opposition as well. Best away fans, I'm going to have to go with Grimsby. We had Grimsby and Bradford quite close together, so they were packed out away ends. Bradford brought more, but I think Grimsby were louder for the longer period of time. They just didn't stop singing, whereas Bradford, there were good points for Bradford as they were walking out. They had the flag and like the tifo sort of thing going on. It was really, really good away following. But for me, I think it just Grimsby went that step further, and they were just non-stop.
They've got a really committed fan base at Grimsby, haven't they? Really,
I think they sold slightly about 500 to 1,000 less than what Bradford did, but I'd have put them at the same figures. To be fair, the noise that they made.
Let's face it, Bradford had more to fight for than Grimsby, because Grimsby were mid-table. So
I think Grimsby is one of those clubs where a lot of people hear the name Grimsby and think, "Oh, small club mentality," and they're not. As a fan base, they're massive. They had that small club mentality in terms of what people think of them, but when they actually turn up, they're a completely different animal of fan base, and that fan base drives that team on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no.
And for me, the worst away fans, and this is going to be harsh, but it's purely based on how few they brought, and that was Crawley. They were in a bit of turmoil at the time that we played them. I think Kevin Betsy was the manager. They've been battered 4 or 5-1, 4 or 5-0 for the last 3 or 4 games. And
don't forget Bitcoin has plummeted then, so the owners were losing money left, right, and centre.
Yeah, I think you could have probably counted the number of Crawley fans.
Have you got them all in a minibus?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think this is the level at League Two. You're going to get certain teams like Bradford, Wrexham next year, Notts County, who will travel very, very well. But when you look at League One, you've probably got a lot of kind of mid-level clubs that all travel with maybe 500 or so fans, and you're always going to get a fairly decent away following. In League Two, you've got so many clubs in there where they're kind of still at a non-league level, and I feel bad saying that because everybody's in the division that they deserve to be in.
Because every fan's valued, even if just one goes to an away game. But I'll tell you something, Notts will definitely fill your away end.
Yeah,
Notts, Wrexham will.
Yeah, Wrexham, yeah.
I think it shows more in League Two though, because obviously we've got a decent stadium. It's probably too big for us at the minute. 15,000 seats. So when you get 100 fans coming and sat in a stand that holds 3,000, it looks less than what it is. Yeah. Whereas if you've got a smaller stadium where the away end only holds 600 and you've got 100 in there, then
I think for you, Dan, this season was an eye opener from last season being in League One, where you would have teams fill it. Like you'd had Sunderland come, you had us fill it, you'd had Plymouth would have filled it because they travel really well. Ipswich, and then you come down and you see the clubs like Crawley going, "We'll just bring this then," because it's
there's been so many.
It adds to atmosphere, doesn't it?
There's been so many games this season, lads, where we've not even opened the north stand because the stadium's built in a way where we can segregate the east stand, the one opposite to what I sit in.
Yeah,
and you can kind of segregate maybe like a quarter of that stand and just allocate it to away fans as like a wall. Partitioning wall that they can put in place, and I think it's a really good idea because it saves the club money. They don't have to steward it. They don't have to put food kiosks on and stuff in that north stand. But it just you just think, wow, there's especially when the home gates were plummeting as well.
We did the same in League One. We did the same. We closed the away end for a few games in League One the season before last.
Yeah,
like when you got clubs like Crewe coming that only took about 60.
Yeah.
It's not
on a Tuesday night, and when you know you weren't going to get a lot of away support.
Yeah, and like I said, Ian, every fan that travels or every fan that even doesn't travel is valued because they're a fan. But I think when you see it, it's a bit disheartening, isn't it? When you see a lot of seats.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, yeah.
But no, to finish my section off, satisfaction or dissatisfaction, I think it's one of those seasons that we just need to archive and forget about. It's a D minus.
You're going Gambusters early now, which is good to see. I think you've got the right manager in now. I think I also want to give credit to someone I know who's part of the media team, that David. He's really crushing it with all the content. The level of your content has just gone from here to there.
Yeah,
in like next to no time, and I think it's credit to your media team. You've been really smart with your bringing in. We got 7 signings in already, or the 8? 8 signings in already. You're already.
And also, Dan, like I keep saying to you, you're still an EFL club.
Yeah,
that's it. It could have got much worse last season. The form that we were in, we were the worst form team in the EFL. There was toxicity amongst the fan base. It was not a nice place to be. You were there
near Scunthorpe United.
Yeah.
That's how bad it can go.
Yeah, so a poor season based on what was said at the start of the season. I think they increased the expectation of the fans and just didn't deliver. But for me, it's one of those where we just wipe it, we put it into the history books, forget about it. And hopefully, as a collective, John Ryan has been bringing the fans together massively over the last couple of weeks. He's been banging the drum. And hopefully that continues into the season.
Oh, the Thunder started
again. Thunder?
Yeah.
You next door to me, Ian.
I've got to drive down the M1 in that later.
Have.
So there we go. The Thunder must be directly between Doncaster, Rotherham and Sheffield because we all just went...
To be quite honest, Malby's not that far away, Dan. Malby's not that far away from you.
No, true. So yeah, that's me. I'm dissatisfied with the season as a whole, but I'm hopeful, looking forward to next season. So let's finish this video on a high because we've only got 10 minutes before we hit the hour mark. So we will be going over the hour. But no, Jake, Worko, between yourselves, lads, start with the best match.
Well, there's only one in there.
I mean, it's a when a match is making international news everywhere, South Korea, Australia, India, everything on their national news pages,
and Pep Guardiola
reacting to it. It's got to be the comeback from the 4-0 deficit, like surely.
Got to be that Peter. The thing is that Peter game is like Dan Moore said afterwards that it was like we were watching Istanbul, we were watching this. We are now going to be the video people watch to go. This is how you come back from it. And at 4-0 down, I'll say it now. I think the fans were well in their right to say you're not fit to wear the shirt. It's their prerogative. It wasn't a good performance. But when Darren Moore did the right thing, he made all players stay off social media. no one went on Twitter and said, "Oh, we're sorry about that. We'll do better." They got their head down and they carried it on. And we started that game very, very well. Started well. Michael Smith getting 21 goals for the season, which when you look at it, he doesn't look like a player who could have got 21 goals this season. It was a weird one. And then to have it as Liam Palmer get it on the 98th minute to be the player to get it, that gets it back to extra time. I think it was just, it shows you can be down in a game and still win it.
Well, before you scored that equaliser, Jake, you were sort of like wrapping the season up in
I
your
was.
watch-along.
Well, we had a good effort.
I said we had a good effort. We're done.
That was just before your brains came out.
Yeah, that's the bit where, that is pretty much where my brain suddenly like just went out my ears. I think it was at that point, and when Patterson scored, I think in my head I went, I ain't gonna have a voice today, the next couple of days. And for me personally, with my illness, it was something that wasn't great. I was bedridden for like 2 days after this. It really took it out of me. But you were there.
Yeah, I was there, and I physically could not speak for 4 days after the game because any remote sound that came out of my mouth, it was like someone had a vice wrapped around my vocal cords for about 4
And
days
also,
afterwards. It was
sorry to butt in, but also
no, go ahead.
Our colleague around the grounds video for that
Yes.
game is incredible.
His squealing, the squealing
squeal.
from him that you
The squeal.
heard.
Like a banshee.
Yeah. And I just want to say for Jack as well. For Jack, that was a hard game for him because that's the first game he'd been to since he lost his dad a couple of years ago. And for him, that I think for anyone who's lost someone, I think that felt like that game was for them. It was that knowing that it shows you that football can bring you together.
There was a weird atmosphere, and I actually did see on social media a lot of people seem to have lost that went to the game or whatever have lost relatives in the last year or two. A lot, seemingly a lot more than normal, and it almost felt like there was this otherworldly presence there with the team guiding them through to come back from it, kind of thing. And I know that's very wishy-washy and very supernatural, whatever, but that's just it. A lot of us felt like the ones that we would have wanted to be there with were there with us, kind of thing, and it was quite intense. I did actually. Don't mind admitting, I did shed a few tears when the final whistle went.
Lee did.
Yeah.
Lee did. Yeah. You look on Lee's vlog, Lee's the emotional wreck.
Yeah.
I think we all did. I think we all had that kind of going, did we actually just see this? It didn't feel real. It didn't feel like this was something that was happening. And I think the one thing that's interesting was the one thing like Dan said in the past, you don't really see Darren Moore celebrate. Darren Moore was skipping the moment with James scored, and then he realised, hang on, I've got to come back down now. Get it together. We're not done yet. And it was just, we shouldn't have been in playoffs, yes, but we were in the playoff because we didn't win our games in hand. And that's the thing. The other two managed to get it, and it just built off to quite what turned out to be a really good final. Well, not good final, but in the sense, a final that where both sets of team didn't want to lose it. And I think all the playoffs in the League One Championship and League Two was that. Both sets of team did not want to sing it. You had a disallowed goal in the Luton game. In the final, you had the disallowed goal of Will Vokes. You look at the penalty incident. You look at the red card. You have all these things. And then in the week to the runoff of the game, you had the Barnsley manager and the player chipping in the media all through the week. And Wednesday just kept the gob shut. Yeah. And I think they just went, do what you did against Peterborough. You don't need to say anything. Let your feet do
I mean, going back to the Peterborough game, the character that Wednesday showed when Peterborough scored in extra time to come back again.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely incredible. And
I think that brings it back to what Worko said in terms of kind of...
When the final whistle went, I knew Wednesday had win the penalty shootout. I just knew it.
Yeah. I think it was written, wasn't it? It just seemed written. And
It was so strange being there because even though they obviously like went ahead with that free kick goal, there was never a feeling that Wednesday wouldn't equalize again. There was none of that. Oh, you know,
I think the
there was never anything of that.
was
in anybody's
seeing
heads, I don't think.
Liam Palmer grab Lee Gregory by the hair and pull his head up and go, "We're not done.
Yeah.
Get your head up, carry on." And I think if Lee Gregory isn't wearing that mask that he had to wear, it doesn't rebound off his face and go in.
Yeah. I heard a rumor Ivan Toney had a bet on it.
I think you've got to think with best match and best performance, it's the same one.
Yeah. I think the fact that they left everything out there on that day, you could see that there was literally nothing left in the tank, and I think it goes hand in hand for best performance and best, what is it, best match and best performance. I think
I was worried going into the final because I thought we might have used all our energy too much.
Yeah,
because what you got to remember is not only did we use everyone, but we used all our attacking players straight away.
Yeah.
And then we did the same again in the final. Used all our attacking players again. The red card did change it, but Barnsley did actually look the better team with that red card. It's like they were spurred on to do better. And then we hit another gear in extra time because I think we used that kind of, we've done this once and look what happened last time. And for both goals to be 98 and 120 minutes, last kicks of games, is incredible. Josh Windass doesn't score headers at all. But people need to give credit to Lee Gregory, 35 years old, and he's running a gut to try and get that ball in. And when that header went in, it was such a weird release.
I couldn't believe it went in.
No,
I was in disbelief. It was like time stopped for a few seconds, and then I realized that it's actually gone in. There's no referee's flag's going to get waved. And it's ruled offside.
You always look out for that, especially when VAR's involved, don't you?
Yeah. And I just couldn't believe it. Well, it felt like something that happens to other clubs, not to us.
Yeah.
But can you imagine, guys, if Luca Connell had scored that
sitter?
That's the worst miss I think I've ever seen.
I think that was the point that Barnsley lost that game.
Yeah.
You got to give credit to their keeper as well because he kept them in it.
Oh yeah.
And he's just been relieved by Luton. It looked like he's going back to Barnsley, and I can understand why.
Well, that's sensible.
Yeah, but you also look at the Will Vogt goal. That's the best disallowed goal ever.
Yeah. I do want to give an honorary mention for Port.
And he'd even done the cartwheel as well.
He did. Yeah. God.
I do want to give an honorary mention, even though it wasn't against an EFL team, for the win that we had against Newcastle earlier in the season in the Cup. Because it was very clear that the media darlings of Newcastle, that everybody wanted it to be them. Oh, their rise to glory through Eddie Howe. And they didn't.
Yeah.
And there was a big upset in the media afterwards.
I don't think Wednesday got the credit they deserve for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go on to that later because they're in one of the categories later. Player of the season for me, got it Palmer. Liam Palmer.
Yeah.
Liam Palmer's he hit another level this season. I know everyone would say Barry Bannon, Michael Smith.
Goal scoring fullback.
Exactly. Best goal scoring record he's had ever in his career. And he played the last two games in midfield, which is where he started his career. He did 10K every day at the start of the season to raise money for
Tommy Spurs?
Tommy Spurs.
No, the goalkeeper.
Aaron Jameson's little boy,
kid,
Rio.
Yeah.
And he raised money for that, and he did 10K for that, and he hit a different level. He just hit a completely different level. I don't know who you believe.
I would agree, but I'd also maybe say Will Volks because to go from when he signed for us, he was pretty much ready to give up football altogether because of how he was treated at Cardiff. He was ready to just hang his boots up and say, right, that's it. I'm fed up. I'm getting no joy from football anymore. Darren Moore's obviously convinced him to come to us and say you'll have a much better time of things. And then he's gone on to effectively be the engine of our midfield who's kept going when, say, Barry Bannon's legs have gone towards the end of games and that sort of thing. And I just
knew you'd made a good signing there because they were absolutely superb for us.
Yeah.
Good man manager, Darren Moore, as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's ran games practically, I think, from a box-to-box, rough and tumble kind of point of view that we needed clearly.
His throws are immense, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. The long throws.
That long throw made the Palmer goal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it did, actually, didn't it? Yeah.
Goal of the season. It got to be Windafter for me.
Best signing yet.
We're signing. Oh,
Best
easy.
/worst.
Backinson.
Backinson worst. Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely useless.
You sure?
He's just not really got into that squad at all.
You don't want to think about it, no?
No, he just not got into that squad at all. He got a really poor touch. He can go forward, but we got warned when we signed him from Bristol City that he was a bit of a mardy if he wasn't going right, and he's on a 2-year deal. And it wouldn't surprise me if Darren Moore goes, you know what, let's try and find you another club. It's not worked here.
What sort of contract did he sign?
2 year.
2 years, yeah.
All right.
So he's got a year left. He just didn't really get into the squad. He didn't really bust the gut, which is a shame.
Yeah, he'd get a chance, and he knew that this was his chance to cement a place in the team or whatever, and he just wasn't bothered.
Fleetwood.
He's effectively him. He was the architect of why we lost to Forest Green, because he wasn't doing his job in the midfield, and they were just having to then go to a plan B that they hadn't practiced, and Forest Green took advantage of it, and things like that was happening. And I would arguably, right, Nat, and you, Jake, as well, I would arguably put Tariq Backinson on the pedestal of worst ever signing that I've seen since since Martin Taylor.
Oh,
we've got a rival for that though, guys.
Go.
Because we signed Tom Eaves on a 3-year contract.
Oh, you signed the donkey, didn't you?
And he couldn't hit a barn door with a bazooka.
Yeah.
What about best signing, lads?
Michael Owekwe for me. Sorry, Ian.
Fine.
Michael Owekwe for me, because he's been an absolute. Even though he did get injured for a long period of time, he was just a stalwart at centre half.
And he's a good athlete. He's a really good athlete.
And a really good leader as well. And I think there were a lot of leaders that weren't in the changing room last season, and that's arguably why we may not have done as well as we did as we should have done in certain games last season. And I think
so. Mine is this guy.
He scores goals.
David Stockdale. David Stockdale. He didn't play well in net. It's what he did off the pitch. When he wasn't in net, he was coaching people. Like there's a bit in the playoff game where you see Reece James like talking to him and he's rubbing him down to try and like tell him where the cramp is. No, but he's
doing what now?
Yeah, very intimately.
But
behind
him, he kind of like saying, "My leg's sore here, help me out." And he was coaching on the sideline for a lot of the games, and I think he turned into a really clever signing where we had it was like having another coach behind the scenes. And I think having that kind of person in the dressing room really helped. And I think the Cheltenham game where he came out afterwards saying, I haven't got long left in football. I want to have another playoff promotion. I want to have another promotion to my 5 I've already got. I think it kind of gives the player the kick up the backside to go, right, we haven't been doing better. Let's do better. And I think sometimes you look at when keepers change, like we changed it halfway through with Dawson to take over. Some keepers will go, I'm not in the game, so I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
Stockdale's old enough to know that I'm part of this, whatever happens. And he's currently club at York City. And he's going to be amazing.
Yeah, he's got a good job there, hasn't he?
Head of recruitment, I think, is his second.
He's got a playing and a goalkeeper coach job.
Yeah.
And because that was a very serious answer as well, Jake, I just want to add a little anecdote, because at the semi-final second leg, when that situation happened, I was sat close enough to the pitch that I was able to see what he was saying to Reece James, and he was stood there giving him this massage from behind, and I saw him say the words, "Yeah, you like that, big boy? Right there, big boy." It was so. But having that personality to kind of keep people going, I think, has been so important. And
you need so many different characters within the squad.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry for the intimate little speech.
All right, that'll get the views up.
Oh, exactly. In more ways than one.
On to goal of the season, guys.
Mine's Liam Palmer's to equalise.
I thought Delhi's goal start of the season was good.
Oh yeah,
Start of the season.
All about those.
Delhi Bashiru had a really good season. Well, ish. When he first started versus Pompey, where it was 3-3, had a cracking goal, and he got a touch and hit it, and it was another one of those swoop. It's in the back of the net.
Yeah. Now coming to you live, NFL station.
Oh, I hope not.
But I think for me, it has to be that winning goal at the playoff final.
Yeah,
it's got to be, hasn't it?
It's got to be. He doesn't go headers. Go headers. That's not like him.
It's difficult for you guys because obviously Donny and Rotherham haven't had a goal that's carried so much magnitude, whereas you guys have had Palmer's equaliser against Peterborough.
We had it all in 2 weeks.
yeah. I mean, all 5 goals against Peterborough in the second leg, the goal in the final, they all carried so much meaning. So try and take those out because obviously they've got that. It's unfair for them to be.
Bannon versus Oxford.
Yeah, although I mean, I don't see. It's strange because I'm so relieved to get out of League One. I've almost forgotten the entire season, and so I've been panicking in the build-up to this episode about, oh my god, am I going to remember enough from the whole season to talk about it and things? But yeah, I'm
filthy Neil.
Yeah, I'm also trying to not just sort of agree with Jake on everything as well, just to make it a bit more interesting, you know. But it's
a difficult one because the season was such an. We battered a couple of teams 5-0 at home, but it was so because of how the season it all merges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very difficult.
Lee said it in the private chat, though, that this season has absolutely zapped him of energy. It's absolutely destroyed him. And I think a lot of people who don't fully understand football don't quite get the amount of emotional turmoil you go through in a season, especially like you guys. You had, was it 23 games unbeaten, and then you've come third on 96 points, which any other season in any other division you've probably got automatic promotion, not the title.
Yeah.
So I can understand that it must have absolutely drained the life out of you.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, I've had my life drained out of me for completely opposite reasons.
Yeah.
And what you said, working about being happy about getting out of League One, I'd love to get into League One.
Yeah.
Do you know what I dream of? And that is, regardless of which division that Rotherham are in, I'd like one mid-table season. Because we don't do mid-table. We either do promotion or relegation. We just do not do mid-table.
Without sounding disrespectful, Ian, that's probably one of the most depressing dreams I've ever heard of. I just want a mid-table season.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, if you want to go to, if you go to a match and you know you're comfortably mid-table, you're just not as hurt when you get beat, and you're not as euphoric when you win, if you know what I mean. It's we're all right, we're comfortable. But we just don't do it at our place at all.
No.
And next season we won't do it because we'll be battling to stay up. We know that.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a tough one, isn't it? So we've got 4 more categories before we round this video off. Best opposition team for Sheff Wednesday.
Plymouth looked good for me. They were really well drilled, and they deserved to go on the point they had. They played some really good football, and Schumacher managed to get that team turned around as well. Because start of last season, you would have thought, are they going to be able to do this? Because you think about how close they got last season, and then not to be in the playoffs. You were wondering where their mindset would be. And
Schumacher galvanised them big style.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he got backed as well. He managed to get players into that team as well, because it's not an easy sell to get players down to
not down there. No.
It's very, very hard.
Also, I think Whittaker moving back to Swansea might have affected him.
Yeah.
But if anything, they went even better.
Oh yeah,
without him.
Yeah, definitely.
I would say a different answer for the sake of being interesting. Bristol Rovers were my best opposition team. They looked very, very dangerous, and I was shocked. Well, again, everybody sort of had them tipped to go straight down again, didn't they? And they thought, if they do all right, it'll all be momentum. But they looked like they very much belonged in the division and possibly even challenging for the playoffs. That's
Joey Barton's done a good job there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And from a personal point of view, I really hope we sign Matt Collins, the left winger. Another one from Ireland as well. Drawn on what we said earlier, but yeah, I would say that's ours, the best opposition team.
Best opposition player.
Ooh.
Connor Chaplin.
Ipswich, right?
Yeah. Connor Chaplin. He just runs midfield, doesn't he? He knows what he's doing. He's very, very good at it, and he always seems to be able to wind up Wednesday fans quite easily. And I've got a thing for players that wind up the opposition. I think that it's an art form that is slowly dying out the game because people don't want to see it. I think Jack Grealish in the Premier League does it very well.
Yes,
he's very good at it. And I think you put him in any other team other than Ipswich, he'd do the same job. So Connor Chaplin for me.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. He were very good doing that sort of role at Pompey.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm people here.
You're going a bit Lego.
Oh, are we still here?
Yeah.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. We are.
Sorry, I'm losing people. It's saying that my connection's unstable, but we'll get through it. We're nearly there.
We'll see you, mate.
Yeah.
It's probably atmospherics from the thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Power surge,
possibly.
Yeah.
Best away fans. Plymouth again. Plymouth, because they carry fans.
You've really got a thing for Plymouth, haven't you, this episode? Not just because of,
it's just they always, you look at how far they come from. They always travel in numbers, and they always sing till full time. Always.
I would go with Accrington Stanley for me, just because they're so respectful of every other team. There's very rarely ever any trouble. They're just so accommodating and respectful, and that goes a long way for me, I think. Yeah.
And also, it's a lovely place to visit as an away fan.
Yeah.
Unless it's raining.
If it's raining, just make sure
Unless it's raining, of course, Although, I don't know, that bouncy castle at Gillingham takes some beating.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
See, I'm going to find it difficult to say worst away fans, right? Because Sheffield Wednesday this season have been the pantomime villains for so many fan bases who have a stadium smaller than Dan's Lego Eco Power Stadium project and can't even fill it. So it's very difficult for me just to throw a jibe in there, make it a bit interesting. But it's going to be very interesting.
Mine's very easy.
Try and is it?
Yeah, Newcastle fans.
Oh yeah.
The small minority Newcastle fans that made the whole thing. The Newcastle fans in general were great. It's the small minority. Because for about a month, we were the only headline getting talked about something that didn't happen.
Yep.
Everybody who's not seen
it looks great, that.
Yeah.
He's even got a TV that works in the corner, which I'm really impressed by. I remember when you accidentally sent that in a WhatsApp group. We went, "Sorry, love, wrong chat," and we were like, "That's awesome."
No, this is the right chat. Keep it coming, Dan. It's a weird one for me. I would have said that, but to an extent, I would also maybe say Plymouth, just because of how since being confirmed to go up, they've totally done a 180-degree turn, a lot of them online, and have become very, very, almost a bit vicious and a bit kind of vindictive. And it cemented for me when one of them did to you that awful thing.
Yeah.
And just, they've been so they might be a very vocal minority, but online, they've been very, very not just ungracious in victory, I suppose, rather than the respectful fan base that they've seemed leading up to that. You know what I mean?
Club's got
it's difficult with social media, isn't it? Because obviously you can only judge it on the experience that you get, and if you're constantly getting bombarded by a certain fan base, be it Plymouth or whoever, you straight away kind of tar everybody with the same brush. What I will say though is ATID, who was always in this chat, absolutely condemned what happened to Jake, and he's been fantastic all season.
Yeah. And the thing is, ATID, we've had lots of banter over the course of the season, back and forth
but that's
in the chat.
all it was.
Yeah, it was.
And if it remains banter, all for it. Yeah. But, you know.
There's lines, isn't there?
There's lines, exactly.
Conclusion, happy to be up. And yes, we had that unbeaten record, which maybe you could have looked at that was our undoing. I think Will Vokes actually said near the end of the season, he turned around and said that 10 games left to go, we thought we'd done it. So maybe the players has kind of switched off a little bit. But I want to give a massive credit to Darren Moore. He's had this tag for so long, and you know this, Dan, of being the nearly man.
Yeah.
The fact that this man finally doesn't have the nearly man tag, and he can turn around and say a playoff final winner. Yeah. After some of the abuse he had as well during the
horrible abuse
from our own fan base as well, which is out of order.
Yeah.
And for him to just roll off his back, but also for him to turn around and say in interviews that I forgive them. They've made a poor life decision, but I forgive them. And that shows you how humble and how gracious of the man he is.
Yeah.
And he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Such a lovely guy.
He's got time for everyone. Like, he remembers so many people well, because I was speaking to you, Dan, once where you said when he came back, he was like, someone was saying, oh, you remembered me. It's like, he does. He's that kind of bloke. He wants to know about people's stuff. And I think Wednesday in the championship it can be interesting, because I think Chansiri got to kind of let Darren Moore do his thing and wait to do it. It's kind of funny, actually, because Darren Moore and Chansiri have been around Sheffield, and people have been snapping photographs of him all weekend. It's been really funny seeing them just pop up on social media. Just our chairman in a Sheffield Wednesday t-shirt and a jacket.
Like one of the merch t-shirts or whatever with the sports jacket on over the top of it. It's been really funny.
In Chansiri, quite a small guy as well.
Yeah, tiny.
So you've got like Darren Moore, that's an absolute tank of a man.
Yeah.
Brick tank, yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's just nice to have the season done. I am looking forward to the break, even though it's going to be about a month till we actually have anything. And it's going to sound really sad, but with my condition, I need the international breaks. It gives me a chance to rest and recuperate.
Because you exhaust yourself, don't you?
Yeah. But it doesn't mean when it comes to the League 1, League 2, I will look for a game to watch on Sky during it and then be ready for the EFL 72 show. And as a whole, the EFL 72 show have been, as we said every time, even when we first started this, Dan, it's like, it's nice. It just feels like you sat in a pub or at someone's house talking football, and everyone's opinions is valid. Everyone gets on. I think bringing Lee into the occasion and Jack have been really good, knowledgeable, really funny. And we do, football content creators get some abuse because of how they act and how they react.
Yeah, some
99% of them,
so.
99% of them just want to talk about their club and enjoy their content and have it the fan base. And I think gone are the days of fanzines, and I think football YouTube channels are the new way of saying it.
Yeah.
I'd agree
and I think
with that.
they should be encouraged more by clubs. Because you do get the odd occasion where you stopped filming, if you know what I mean, by stewards and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
I haven't
difficult,
had
there's
that
a lot of
too
money in it,
often,
isn't
but
there?
I have had it a time or two. But
Yeah. We will see.
But I think also, I think each one of the 4 and 5 of us that do this bring their own individuality to it. And I think that adds to the flow of the thing, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
I'd agree with that. And our lass don't like football, so I've got to talk to somebody about it, haven't I?
This is where I lucked out. I have a wife who absolutely loves football, and apparently when she was watching the final, my neighbour turned and said, I thought that was you. I was like, no, I was elsewhere watching it. It's like, that was your missus? I was like, yes.
Jake's pulled a unicorn.
Yeah.
So, Worko, have you said like a debrief of the season? Satisfied?
I'm very much a person that ironically is a lot like Darren Moore in that my sort of feelings on getting out of League One are job done. We've achieved it, job done. What's the next step? And very kind of I'm a very disciplined person, and that's sort of my feelings on it. I've had the high of going there and experiencing it, and now it's on to the next thing for me, I guess.
Yeah.
And I know it's so boring. I wish I could just be so apoplectic and up, raising the roof and stuff. And I was, and I had that moment, and now it's time to focus on what's next and things, Yeah. And I'm itching for the next season now, and kind of, and as well, just what Jake touched on earlier, it feels now, and right, I actually wrote a letter to Darren Moore.
You did.
And he's possibly got it. He's possibly not. I don't know. But just explaining what happened and everything and how effectively what he has done and what the chairman has done and what this group of players have done is they've made me fall in love with the club again. When my dad passed away, that was all, watching Wednesday was always our thing. And I just sort of felt like I couldn't do it without him anymore. And that the je ne sais quoi was gone.
Yeah.
And what's the point? I'll follow it casually, text based on the internet, whatever. But then I finally feel like I've got my own chapter now with Wednesday, and that I can,
Oh, that's great.
and I actually, sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional anyway, but I actually said in this letter that when moments like this keep my dad alive, keep a piece of my dad alive, and it felt like my dad was still with me on that the comeback and then the final, and a piece of my dad was kept alive by this team. And I don't care if we were the pantomime villains to so many other fan bases. That feeling is so unique and feels so very Sheffield Wednesday to me that I'm sure everybody will say it about their clubs.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful as well that I've met all of you guys and everything. It's helped me as well fall back in love with the game, being able to. When my dad passed, I didn't think I'd have anybody to talk football with anymore. I thought that was it, because my parents, my mum isn't interested in it. My extended family isn't really interested in it. A lot of my friends aren't. And then I've met all of you guys, and I finally get somewhere to talk about it again, and it's an absolute privilege to be part of this and everything. And I'm so passionately in love with the game of football, never mind just Sheffield Wednesday again. And it's just this marvelous thing now, but that's how this season has made me feel effectively. So I'm on to the next thing, but I'm overjoyed from a personal standpoint, I guess.
I think that's what makes football such an emotion-based, fan-wise, it makes it such an emotionally based charged sport more than any other, really. You don't see cricket fans getting emotional about the sport or any other, but it's family orientated, it's nostalgia orientated, and I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't think there's any more that I can say to finish this video off and round the season off other than what Werko and Ian and Jake have all just said. I think across all 72 teams, it doesn't matter who your allegiance is, everybody's going to be touched by the emotion of their club and what they deem important and what they attach each emotion and thought to. And that's why we love it so much, and that's why we'll continue to bring as much content to you guys as we possibly can. The 72 review will carry on next season. I hope it grows.
Maybe if people want, we could do going through each other's fixtures, because fixtures are out on Thursday. Maybe next Sunday we have a look at each other's fixtures.
Yeah, so we are wanting to do a few more.
Watch ours from behind the sofa, because we've got that many best clubs coming up.
We are wanting to do a couple more 72 reviews in the close season. I think fixtures is probably a good one. We've said that we're going to do finances, and then I think we'll probably look ahead to the season just before we kick off, maybe. Because we may possibly do a predictions league table next year to spice the 72 review up a little bit. So stay tuned. Any sort of updates will go on the Twitter. Links are in the description down below. But these guys, superb content creators, please go ahead, check them out, subscribe. Before we do round it off, have you got any final words, or do you think?
Yeah, just one.
Go for it.
It just gets harder and harder. It just keeps getting harder.
And on that, this has been the 72 review. Thank you all for sticking around. If you're watching this on repeat later on in the week, please get your comments in for what questions were scrolling across the bottom of the screen. I will try and get back in touch with them. I look forward to next week or whenever it is that we actually get sat down and go through stuff again, because it's all about the Sunday live stream for me. It's very, very enjoyable. If schedules don't work out, though, we will definitely be back.
Yeah.
So all that's left for me to do is say, if you've enjoyed it, big thumbs up on it for us, please. Comments in the section down below. Subscribe to myself and everybody else who was involved with the 72 review. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.